Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark, and I'm sitting here with my wife Connie this morning, and we were just finishing breakfast, and we were admiring the view from our breakfast nook.
And I started thinking about how we've transformed that garden from a patch of grass and a lot of weeds into what we're looking at this morning, and what we look at so many mornings, all seasons of the year.
And we realised that probably when planning a garden or changing a garden, probably the first thing that you have to consider are the views from your window. So let's take a quick tour around our house and we'll show you those different views.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Well, we should start right here.
Start here because where we're sitting, right?
Because that's a great view, it really is.
It's a fabulous view.
Mm-hmm. So that's the view from our breakfast nook. Now let's move into the family room. This is the largest window in the house.
This window, when we first bought this house is 100 years old. When we bought it 24 years ago and we approached from the front door, we could see this window and it took us straight into this room, which used to be a dining room, but we could see that the window had condensation between the panes. And we knew if we just replaced the glass, we would have a fabulous view from this room, and we do.
And then because we're on a corner lot, our neighbours are actually quite near. We've much improved even this view just with the addition of a few trees. And then continuing on to our front room. And again, the side view is very similar. But the nice thing about this view is it's green rather than just seeing the house next door.
Right, and that's what we saw when we first moved in. We had quite a number of very, very old lilac bushes that did not get any sun. So they were very leggy, and we could see the house next door, and it had a red roof.
There's the arbor with the ivy that I love so much. Also has a rose and a clematis on it. And then the view from our front window isn't very much. Yet another arbor though in the front, but you don't really get the full view from here. You need to go upstairs because the bushes near our house are so tall, so you can't really see our garden beds, which is unfortunate.
And we honestly, when we bought the house, didn't even think about the front view. We have very large windows for a 100-year-old house, and I think if we had thought about the front view, we might have taken down some of those views.
And we really maximise the space of our little porch area, which is really nice to sit out on in the evening. So let's turn you around and go back through the house into the back garden, where we can talk about the other aspects that you have to consider when planning a garden. Here's Franklin. So the first of those is how you're going to use your space, which is why the first two things that we did in our garden, the first thing was this patio, because we knew that we wanted to be able to enjoy the space. And then the second thing was the path over there.
Right, and we knew we wanted to eliminate grass. We wanted to invite pollinators and birds into the garden. And that was the first thing that we did in about 2002. We looked at the garden first for about a year, and then we pondered what we thought we should do.
And we came up with the idea that we wanted to enjoy the outside space, just as the same as we do the inside space, which is what the patio is. And we also realised that we needed a pathway to our garage back there. We have a sidewalk back here that we can access the garage with, but we knew that we wanted a pathway down to the garage.
Right. It wasn't really convenient to use the sidewalk when we were taking things to and from the garage.
And the pathway then really dictated the shape of the rest of the garden, because that defined this bed. And when we moved in, this bed was just a patch of weeds, basically. Right, there were some plants in there, but it was really out of control.
We didn't even know how out of control it was until it had been here for a number of years, and we increased the size of the garden bed, and instead of taking everything out of here, we left it. So we ended up having to go through a few years later and remove a lot of things. We had mostly old-fashioned phlox. What else did we have? Creeping bellflower.
Creeping bellflower, we still have creeping bellflower.
We still have that, although we're really diligent about pulling it out. And we still have some phlox.
Ditch lilies, orange day lilies.
Ditch lilies, those were here.
We're rid of those now after many years of effort. I'm quite proud of that.
You dug those out for years.
So all of these perennials are really enjoying the full sun that they get in this bed. So that's another thing that you need to consider when planning a garden or changing a garden, is the light. Because some plants like shade, some plants like full sun.
Right.
So you need to know before you start the garden where you're going to locate your plants.
Right. So you may want to take some time and just look at your garden over, that's why we took a year. You may want to take some time and just look at your garden over a year, see what the light situation is, how many hours of daylight you have, or just sunlight, and hours of shade. As you can see in this bed, we get some shade over here, and we get sun here. And this is one of the beds we're going to be remodeling because we're not really sure what to do with it. We'll think about it. As you can see, these lilacs are in full sun. They love that in the spring, and they are beautiful.
And you can see how much we've changed the space over the years to what it is now. And probably the most obvious change has been the addition of the pond here. So how did we decide that we wanted a pond?
Well, we didn't. We didn't know we wanted a pond, and it took us a number of years to decide that. But off of the back porch, we decided to make a very, very large perennial bed, and at the end of the bed, we had a redbud tree. And over the course of several years, that tree was in decline, and it was losing large branches. So we took it down and decided to change that bed basically into a pond.
Mm-hmm. It was a raised bed, and the shape of the raised bed kind of dictated the shape of our original pond.
Right.
So it was kind of fortuitous. It wasn't planning on our part.
No, not really. We actually went to a seminar at a local garden center, and we saw someone there who builds ponds, and we loved his work, and he's the fellow who we had build our pond for us. But that wasn't until 2012, so we've been here quite a number of years before we made that change.
And then the next biggest change that we made is this area that we call our fountain garden. Because it used to be that long bed just continued all the way down the whole length of the property. So what we had our landscaper do, was remove the top, 6 to 8 inches of topsoil, because it was so infested with all kinds of weeds that we'd battled for years with little luck, that was really the only way to move forward.
Right.
So that's another thing that you need to consider when planning or changing a garden, and that is your soil. Not only your soil, but what's already growing. It may be that you may not be able to get rid of the weeds, so the way to do that is to just remove the topsoil.
Yes.
You could also try covering it with cardboard and waiting a year to kill the weeds. That sometimes works, but we've had limited success with
with that method, to be honest.
Right. So we hired a landscaper to remove all that soil. And the really wonderful thing is you start with an absolutely clean patch of land, and we were able to put all the trees and perennials in that we wanted. But I'll admit, it took us about a year to decide exactly how to do that. But we're very happy with it now.
And that brings up another point, which is what you're seeing here is 24 years of work on our part. So it takes patience.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, don't, it's really tempting to want to do everything now and to want to have everything full grown right away, but that's not the case. That's not the way gardens work. And we learned that. Sometimes we would put things too close together, and then we'd have to transplant them or divide them, and that's okay. But if you just have a little bit of patience, most of the perennials that you plant will grow and fill out your garden. There's a rabbit.
Yep.
And there he goes.
And we already mentioned that we're thinking of changing that area back there. So it's an ongoing process too. It's not one that it's one and done. It really should be something that you enjoy. You enjoy the journey, and you change things based upon how the plantings are reacting to where you put them. That's part of the fun. So I'm going to take you back here to an area that needs some work. So we have our tomatoes here, but we could be doing so much more with this area. You can see right now. Got
We have
fine
the
lot of
milkweed.
milkweed there. Oh, look at that weed. Wow.
Wow.
That wasn't here last time I was here. Last time I checked back here. Wow.
Wow.
That's
If
impressive.
you ever want to know the difference between a weed and one of your perennials, the thing that gets the tallest and grows the biggest, that's a weed. I can almost guarantee it.
See, what I'm tempted to do with this space, but probably won't, because you can see it's in shade,
Make some raised beds.
is make some raised beds
With vegetables.
and grow some veg. Because
Whenever we have an extra inch, we want to do something with it.
right. So if you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe for more content just like it? Thanks for watching. Bye.